Well, hello ladies and gents, PepperBelly here, and I'm bringing you guys some good old classic 2010 released Medal of Honor multiplayer because it was on sale on Steam. You can actually go and pick it up right now for $5 Canadian or American or your regional equivalent. The offer ends on March 10th, and I would strongly recommend picking it up if it piques your interest. This is some multiplayer gameplay I acquired today while slaying some bodies because this game is actually pretty fun. Now, a brief background history with my experience with this game. I originally played Medal of Honor on console. I actually still own it, and the only reason why I really bought Medal of Honor was to gain access to the early Battlefield 3 beta that's been promised to everybody that purchased the Medal of Honor limited edition. So everyone that got that got early access to Battlefield 3, even though that was kind of bullshit because it was only like 2 days early access since they kind of fucked over everybody, but that's besides the point. And I actually played the beta for Medal of Honor's multiplayer, which you're seeing right here, before it was even released, so I got a huge taste of what was to come. And I actually enjoyed it, and I actually really liked the game, because I basically determined it was a perfect blend, like a perfect hybrid of what Battlefield Bad Company 2 was at the time, and Call of Duty at the time. And it was actually pretty acceptable. I mean, the game overall felt great. It was a pretty solid shooter. It had the overall, it was using the engine, it was using Frostbite engine, so you can tell it looks exactly like Battlefield, and plays very similarly to Battlefield, except it has kill streaks like Call of Duty, and has the twitch, very aggressive, quick death, and regenerating health of any attachment process. You know, you can actually add attachments to your weapon of what Call of Duty offers. So I mean, it was a pretty decent hybrid, and I actually liked it because it felt like a very precise shooter. Playing it, running around in the environment, shooting at things and killing people, felt very precise. I can't really make it any more specific than that. Basically, it felt like I was shooting needles at targets. It felt like I was shooting lasers, essentially. It's a very fast twitch-based shooter. It wasn't really honed in on realism or anything like that, because pretty much running around with an RPK and shooting people with like really good accuracy across the map and sniping people's heads off and stuff, it's just kind of a little bit ridiculous. The sound effects were also extremely meaty in this game. I noticed that pretty much from the get-go. Whenever you're firing a weapon, it feels devastating. Even though it doesn't exactly sound like it does in real life, it definitely gives you the feeling that you're fucking shit up with it, and it's pretty great. And the fact that it actually felt very meaty when you were shooting someone, the actual overall effect of hitting someone with the rounds in this game felt really good, and it was something that actually appealed to me and I really enjoyed. So that's pretty much the reason why I ended up getting it again, because I was thinking back to it when Warfighter came out and they changed the multiplayer of Warfighter. And I mean, I played it for the beta on 360 for a little while, and I wasn't as pleased with it. I mean, it was kind of okay, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. And considering the single player and multiplayer component were made by 2 different companies in this release of Medal of Honor, DICE making the multiplayer and Danger Close Games making the single player component, so overall, it was a pretty decent game. Obviously, the campaign was incredibly short, and if you're looking to play the game for the campaign, it does offer a level of authenticity that I kind of admire about it, although it's extremely short and very, like, hold-your-hand-esque through the entire campaign. If you go look at Total Biscuit's review, or first impressions, WTF is, of Medal of Honor Warfighter, it pretty much sums up the whole thing with, you know, the game is just very linear, extremely linear, with like really cheap invisible walls and problems like that just kind of hinder the overall feel of gameplay. But the thing I enjoyed about it is the fact that it felt realistic. It really did offer an authentic experience that felt like this was reality, and it kind of did a really good job of that, considering they actually had a lot of operators help them in the process of making it. Although it was a very handheld experience, it does show you kind of what the overall feeling and atmosphere is actually like in those type of situations, which I thought was pretty good. But overall, pretty solid game, and for $5 on Steam right now, if it looks interesting to you, if the multiplayer looks appealing even the slightest, for $5 you can't go wrong. I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of it. I'm playing it now. The player base has increased slightly. I mean, it has more players than it does on the 360, because I even popped on the 360 version just to go and see how that's doing, and there was like 50 people in the world playing it, and that was pretty bad. And then, of course, I went and checked how many people were playing the Steam version, or just Medal of Honor on PC in general, and there was a few hundred, so I mean, it was a little bit more populated. Plus, I wouldn't even want to touch the console version anymore. If I were you, don't. Just don't. Because you're going to be paying a higher price, not to mention, I was playing it, and holy fuck, I don't even know how I did it. The frame rate is like, it feels like a slideshow, and that's just mainly because it's on the console, but like, holy crap, I don't even know how I was able to do that. Playing this game at glorious 60 plus frames per second, it's a lot smoother, it's a lot nicer, things control better, and the overall fluidity of the game is phenomenal. The game feels nice. Of course, it uses the Frostbite engine that made Battlefield Bad Company 2, so that's another thing. You're gonna realize that when you're sprinting, you can't strafe and sprint, which sucks. Because that's one thing that got me all kind of messed up when I started playing this again. I realized I can't strafe and sprint at the same time. Made me feel really, really weird. And then, of course, playing Bad Company, I realized you can't do that either because I got Bad Company. That's also on sale for dirt cheap, as well as the Vietnam expansion pack. So if that piques your interest as well, I would recommend getting that for dirt cheap. And of course, there's also Medal of Honor Airborne, which, if you have to pick one, I mean, if you can only pick one of them and they all kind of appeal to you, I would definitely say Medal of Honor Airborne, because that's a very underrated shooter. It was really, really good, and on PC it really shines compared to consoles, and it's a phenomenal game. I actually really enjoyed Medal of Honor Airborne immensely, and if it's only $2.50, so it's a fucking steal. Like, you can't go wrong. It's a very good game for that price. I thought it was amazing. So if you're looking for a new Medal of Honor game, or you're looking for some EA games that are still available on Steam that aren't exclusive to Origin, and a lot of them are on sale, boom. These are your opportunities to grab them, because they're dirt cheap, and they're pretty good, and people still play them. And actually, Battlefield Bad Company 2 even picked up in the player base recently due to the sales. It's actually one of the top sold games on Steam right now, while Medal of Honor is kind of below 50, which is a shame. I like to see Medal of Honor climb a little bit higher because I personally enjoy this game. I don't know why, I just love it. It's a very addicting, simplistic game. It's not oversaturated with bullshit like most games. It's a very simple, in-your-face experience. Kind of reminds me of Crysis 2 when it first came out, with how it had the kill streak kind of idea, but they didn't overly complicate it and they kept it pretty simple, which in my opinion is great. Anyway, my name's PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me today on this video. I'll see you on the next one.